Hello everybody, welcome to the video today. Welcome to the signal box. It's great to have you with me, and as always, a big shout out to my regular followers and subscribers out there. Thank you so much, guys and girls. You really do make the channel what it is. It's one thing to upload all my videos, but your support and your comments and thumbs up and your advice always is primary, so I want to highlight that and just say thank you. So today's video is a little bit of an update on our little green, not little, but our biggish Sqaudron Battle of Britain class 41 Sqaudron, this Hornby spam can. And it is a nice engine, but unfortunately in the last video that you saw, she was a bit poorly and she really had a lot of problems, and she threw a leg out of bed, which in the steam engine loco man's language, it means when the conrod and piston drop out of the crosshead and slide bar and literally pop out onto the track. That's known as putting a leg out of bed, and it's quite a serious incident, and you can damage all the conrods and pistons and have quite a little bit of a problem there. And the model form was no exception. In the last video I found myself scrambling over the back of the layout on the station side. The washers, the complete conrod and the piston link had all popped off on one side, and I did manage to retrieve them, but as mentioned, the center wheel there, I showed you in the last video, I took this off. The threaded little, there's a bushing inside there that accepts the, if you look, if I turn it over this way, if you can see that screw goes through the piston, it goes through a spacer washer, then it goes onto the conrod linkage, and then it goes right through to the wheel. And inside that center wheel, there's a little tapped bushing that accepts that screw. So what had happened is that bushing had somehow worn away, or just had not become secure enough, or it just worn away and broke off. And I didn't really notice that when I got it off eBay. And maybe it was there, maybe it just happened, I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, that the cylinder block, which is this piece of kit here, when I got this on eBay, the person who had it had it apart several times by the looks of it, because it fitted the Hornby 01 chip, but it also fitted that cylinder block upside down on the wrong way round, which was causing a lot of irregular running stress on everything else. If you don't get this seated right, it puts everything out of sync, and it causes everything to run rather lumpy, and you can actually break off things and do a lot of damage, believe it or not, internally. So I had this apart today, again this afternoon, and I was looking at a replacement chassis on eBay for this particular model with an XO4 motor in, as mentioned in the last video, and with postage it's about £52–53, and I can't justify spending that much money on something like that right now. So I thought, I'll be darned, you know, being a railwayman, you can take the man out of the railway, but never the railway out of the man. And that's a bloody true saying. I won't be beaten by things. So I got my little bag of spares out. If you remember, when I did the repair on the Hornby Mallard, I had to order a new complete chassis and wheel set kit because it was defective. So in here, this is all the running gear, conrods, spacers, nuts, washers, drive wheels, but more importantly, one of these drive wheels is the center crank wheel that has the bushing for the screw and the pin to hold all the conrods and pistons together on the center drive wheel. So I thought, you know what, let's see if I can get that out of that center drive wheel, the bushing, and we'll pinch a screw that goes with it, and we'll see what we can do. We'll do a like for like swap exchange. So all I did, I took the little brass bushing out of that center drive wheel, one of those drive wheels like that, out of this one of these fellas, and there was like a center brass threaded bushing that goes in. You might actually see the hole there. And I took that out completely with a pair of pliers. That came out quite nicely. And it literally was a press fit on the back of this center driving wheel that I took off, and you might be able to see it there. If it's there, is it there? Is it there? No, because it's been hidden, because it's quartering is more up there. It's hidden in the chassis. But this side was the side that I replaced. So what I did basically, I took this wheel off, I popped it off easy, took all this off, took it all apart again, and then I press fitted the brass threaded bushing into the slot that had worn away. It was a nice fit, and there was just enough to protrude outwards to secure all the linkage, complete with the spacer washer there, as you can see. The only thing I've changed on here, on this arrangement, is I've done away with the original screw pin that goes through the con rods and piston. I've fitted the one from the A4, which matches obviously the same bushing, so it's like it goes together, it marries up, because obviously the pin that goes through there on the original bushing slot for that fits that. Well, obviously it wouldn't fit the new bushing, so you have to use the screw that goes with the bushing. So that's all I did. So a new bushing on the back of that wheel, pushed through the other side, and enough to retain on there. I put a tiny dab of super glue, just a smidge of super glue, underneath on this side where the bushing marries up flush to the inside of that wheel. So there's plenty of clearance, but I secured it in place just for measure with a tiny hairline's worth of super glue. So that's going to live in there permanently now, it won't come out. So that's all in there tight. I did a few dry test fits without the motor and the chassis to make sure everything revolved round, and I was quite shocked and amazed that it actually worked. Why would I be shocked and amazed? I don't know, but I kind of knew it would work, and hey presto, it did. The only thing I had to do on this bit of assembly here, which is the piston rod, I took a small file like that, and I just very slowly and very gently, stress the word gently, opened up the hole a little bit more to accept the larger bushing that goes through and accommodates the con rod, spacer washer, the piston rod, and obviously the screw at the end. So I did that, and hey presto, it all went in there. Then I put it all back together, and I thought, it's running lumpy. The motor's actually stalling. It's actually, I can hear it buzzing away, but it's not moving. It was getting quite hot. I thought, switch off. What's catching? So I took the motor out the chassis. This has taken me an afternoon's worth of faffing around. I've took the motor out the chassis, and I just free-wheeled with my thumbs these wheels to revolve, just to see without the motor if there's a problem. And sure enough, they were stiff as a board, and I thought, why are these so stiff? There's no motor in here, they should free-wheel. They're oiled up, everything's lubed up, and then it hit me like a frying pan in the face, as I always say. It was this. It's the right way round, but it has to go a certain way in the chassis. If I turn it upside down there, it has to go and sit literally underneath. I had that cylinder block assembly secured with a screw on top, so it was actually quite a bit above the chassis plate. So this puts quite an angle of incline on the travel of this, so it was going up that way, and obviously that's why it's running a bit lumpy. So obviously what I did, I just took it, that was my mistake, took it off, and now it's seated in its correct position, which is, if you ever fit these cylinder blocks on any triangle locos, they go that way, they go flush to the underneath of the chassis, not on top. So that's the schoolboy error that I did. Anyway, I put it all back together, and then with no motor in the chassis, just a dry fit, I turned it round, and yeah, sure enough, it was nice and smooth. So I put everything back, oiled it and lubed it, gave it another spin with my fingers, happy with that, put the motor back in, and yeah, she runs okay now. So what I'm going to do, just to say there's proof in the pudding, I'm going to stop this video, I'm going to have some tea, and then after my dinner I'm going to set a little bit of track up, and we'll give her a run round and see how she behaves herself, shall we? We can only see. Fingers crossed. Okay, so it's not tea time yet. I just forgot to mention something, then I'll go and have my tea. But I don't know if it looks any cleaner, but I'll put the big light on in my room. That's better. What I want to show you, guys and girls, is that the other day, while I had this apart and I was trying to repair it, there was a little bit of dust that accumulated in the chimney recess. So what I've done, I took the body off and I put the whole thing in a nice bath of warm soapy water, and just with a toothbrush I gently gave the whole thing a scrub over, and as you can see it's brought out really lovely. The roof area, not that recess there with the chimney, I was quite pleased with. That's all that dust off there, and as you can see my lights in my room are doing it justice. It's got quite a nice clean finish now. I did the tender as well. Let me just go and get the tender out. I did the tender. I scrubbed all that coal up as well. It was a little bit dusty as well, and behind there where the tanks are, I gave that a clean out as well, and a bit of soapy water treatment with a toothbrush, and just give it a nice little scrub. And you can do that with these models, it won't hurt them. Just give it a little rinse off after, and yeah, I gave that a little bit of clean up. So yeah, as you can see, yeah, she's all right. So I can tell you she's all right. But what we'll do, we'll give it a proper track test on my little test track when I've had my tea, and we'll see how we go. Okay, so as promised, I'll give this a run round on my little oval of test track. So just to recap before we run, everything on this model has been thrown into it as best we can. It's been given every single chance that it possibly has. It's been given a replacement bushing on the centre wheel, drive wheel that is. The centre drive wheel's got a replacement bushing and screw, which connects the crank pin and the cong rods, and all that linkage is all held on by a proper screw and bushing now. That's all secure. Everything's been mechanically lubricated. We've sorted out the cylinder block issue. It's mounted correctly in the right position on the chassis. We've even given the motor another service, not the armature, the commutator, but the actual armature itself. The coils, I've given that a thorough spray over with some contact cleaner. So the coils are clean and the actual motor housing's all clean. So there's no possibility that motor will fail. Everything's electrically connected up. Mechanically, everything's seated properly. So compared to the other day's effort, let's give this a run and see what happens, shall we? Now I know my track isn't the best, and I've got my analog controller on that setting, so just give it a little bit more beam, shall we? A little bit more, I think. .45, there we go. That's a bit better. Yeah, there we go. Let's take it up to halfway 50. Like I said, it's got an XO4 motor in this, as we know, and the body shell, they act like speakers, like sound chambers, so that's why it sounds quite noisy. But she's going. Yeah, I think I can safely say that's job done, I think. It's got a little bit of a wobble to it, which is nothing I can do about. It's the nature of the chassis. It has got a little bit of a wobble to it. That's because of the wheels on it, and because of the chassis and the whole thing. It's just that's the way it is, but it's running a lot better than the other day, that's for sure. There we put it up to 55. Why not? Right, 60. There we go. So far, so good. I'll turn it up to about 65. There you go, 65. It will go a lot faster. Top speed. Right, we'll slow it down to a stop over there, and now we'll give it in reverse. Bring it down to a sensible speed, I think. What we got on the controller? 40, just on 40. Now bear in mind, my two tables are not level because they're sitting on my mattress. I haven't got the legs up today, they're just laid as flat as, and this track isn't obviously 100% flat. It's not 100% clean. But the wheels have been polished up as best I can with sandpaper again. So I would say, ooh, let's creep it down a bit more to 30. What would she do on 30? Oh yeah, she's going still. Just about. $32. Leave it at 32, shall we? Now, bearing in mind, these are XO4 motors, as mentioned. You can't get slow torque out of these things hardly, like you can a modern motor, but yeah, they're not overly responsive. But the thing is, it runs. Right, we'll do a little test, one final test on this. I'll explain to you what the test is. Right, we'll stop it over there, about there. Right, on my controller, it's analog as mentioned, but I've also got here, this thing is called a brake simulator. So if I switch that on, and at the moment the brake is on, so it's holding the train. And I set that on my dial to about, let's say 60 on there, and then I just take the brake off completely, and we watch what happens and see how responsive she is. It takes a few seconds to get up to full speed. That's the idea of it. I just think this would have been a nicer model if Hornby had at least put a ring-filled motor in the tender, and it was a tender drive loco. It would have been so much nicer, much more smoother. I think these were the last of the Battle of Britons to have the X04s in the loco. After that, I think Hornby went over to ring-filled motor drives in the tenders, which was much better. These are okay, but as you can see, they're not that great, but it runs. Right. So what I'll do now, if I shut off the speed, it will come to a gradual coast, and we'll see how quickly it stops. Yeah. As you can see, it stopped pretty quickly. Now I'll tell you why. Because these X04 motors in these locos, they draw a heck of a lot of amps. They do and they don't. They don't draw a lot of amps, but what I'm trying to say is, performance-wise, you can't get slow torque out of these motors hardly, and they do like a lot of juice. And to get them to start from a slow speed, sometimes a little bit of depends how good the motor is. Mine's not too bad, but I think that's about the best we can get. So again, if I have the brake off, and we'll select, say, 65 this time, it should move off in a minute when it's got enough amps going through the motor. See if it behaves itself. There we are, and she's off. That's a good sign. I didn't have to nudge it with my hand, so that's a good sign. That means it's responsive. Well, that's good. Shut off there. Back up to 60. Shutting off, and I'll manually brake it. There we go, turn it off. Right, so yeah, there we go, folks. So I think we can safely say that yeah, she's all right. She runs now, so I think we'll get it out on the layout in the next video probably. So everything is a-okay, I think. Yeah, that was the problematic wheel, the one right in front of you, the middle wheel, as you see it on your devices at home, with the screw in the middle. That's the one that I fitted the replacement bushing, like I said, for that crank pin in that wheel. Everything's not moved about, so that's good. I was a little bit worried because if that screw works itself loose again, there's another little trick I can do, and that is very carefully with a cocktail stick put a little dab of super glue on the thread but nowhere else on the pin, just so it, and then when you screw it back into the hole, it locks itself in there for good. But I hopefully shouldn't have to do that. That to me looks as though it's a sound fit. Looking at that camera shot there, the head of the screw is flush to that piston rod there, which is what I want. That all looks good. I can see a nice little bit of lubrication there on the gear wheel, and as you can see, yeah, it looks and sounds not too bad, but I'm happy with that. At least it runs. Well, I'm happy about that, guys, because that has seriously saved me £50, because I was looking at forking out at some point for well, not a brand new, but as good as new complete chassis for this, for the X04 in. But I think I've learned my lesson. Not so much the eBay thing, but well, that's always a learning curve, because that thing is, eBay's just that nature of the beast, unfortunately. You just have to be very careful what you buy. But I think this is going to be probably the last Hornby locomotive with an XO4 motor in it. I much prefer the modern motors in their locos, or even the tender drive. There's quite a few nice little tender drive models out there that are nice. I tell you what, my Belgian friend Eric, he got a rather nice D49 Hunt the other day, a nice LNER one. That's quite nice. That may be something I can look at getting one of those. They're quite reasonable. But no, I think I'm going to avoid those XO4 motors from now on, because they are a little bit troublesome. They're a little bit of a maintenance nightmare, or they can be. They're not always, but anyway, I've got it running, and we'll see how it does maybe in the future. But at least I can put this back in the box tonight and know it works, it's been fixed. This goes back in the box as a working model now, so happy days. Anyway, I'll close things up, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care now, goodbye.